What is going on, all you card collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan with the 40-Year-Old Collector. So today we're going to be looking at some early 1950s NFL Hall of Fame rookie cards that I have in my collection. So I'm excited to go through them. Before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that this is the 40-Year-Old Collector's Cards Against Cancer Month. So for every new subscriber that we get, we're donating $2 to our local children's cancer charity. We've already raised over $60, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 2 full tanks of gas. That's a couple meals for families that are traveling on the road. $60 is a lot. We're only 11 days in, so hopefully we'll be able to double or even triple that by the end of the month and, help a lot of kids in need. So outside of that, I'm going to show you guys in this video why there are some PSA 6s that I love and I'll keep forever, and why there are some PSA 6s that just won't stay in my collection, which might sound a little weird, but not all PSA 6s are collected or created equal. So anyways, I hope you enjoy the content, and we got a lot to talk about, so let's get after it right now. All right, everybody, let's get into what we're here for, and that's to look at some slabs. So we'll start off right here. One of my favorite cards. I've had this in a video before. So this is a 1950 Bowman Joe Perry PSA 7 near mint. So these are all 1950 to 1952. I was going to do it all in one video, but I have so many of these I had to split it into 3. So I figured it'd be easier to watch it in chunks. So this Joe Perry is one of my favorite cards. Like I said, the centering's off a little bit, left to right, top to bottom, but it's got really sharp corners, really, really good color. I love this card. It was one of the first 50 Bowman cards that I bought, and at the time I was trying to get them all in PSA 7, so that was my collecting goal. Now here's one of the ones, if you've seen my earlier videos, I talk about setting a goal, sticking to it. You'll see these next 2 cards I deviated from that PSA 7 goal, and really, looking back on it, I wish I hadn't. So here you go, Mr. Lou the Toe Groza. This is in a 5, and it looks okay for a 5, but one of the things I'll point out right here, it's got this little red mark right here by my finger, and it absolutely drives me nuts. And nowadays, I would never buy a 5, not because it's just not a part of my collecting goals, right? So I will look to upgrade this card at some point. Centering's not great. Corners aren't great. I mean, it's a 5, and there's nothing wrong with having a 5. But it's just not what I want long term. So I've had this in my collection for a while. I'm going to hold it for a while, but it will be one that I eventually look at upgrading. Here's another one I bought around the same time. So this is Tom Fears right here. This is a PSA 4. I'll be honest with you, the centering's off, and also this corner right here is just brutal. Let me see if I can get that up there for you. Like, it is just an ugly corner. You'll hear me talk all the time. I buy cards, not slabs. So I don't care if this is a PSA 4, as long as it's a beautiful card, I'm all about it. I don't care. Then I just bought a beautiful card at a discount. The color's beautiful, the image is beautiful, but the centering and the corners just aren't something that gives me a whole lot of pride in my collection. So another one that I'll be looking to upgrade sometime in the future. This one right here, I have no intention of upgrading. Just like the Joe Perry, this is an absolute stunner of a 7. This Marion Motley right here, great card. I picked it up for a couple $100. Not even that, man. I think I bought this for like 150 back in the day. So it's a great card. You'll see the centering is much better on this one compared to the others. It's almost 50-50 all the way around. It's got a little bit of just some natural staining down here. I think that's what really kept it from an 8, but this is just another stunner of a 7. Really, really lucky and thankful to have this in my collection. Glad I picked it up all those years ago. Again, keeping with the 7 trend, that was my goal back then. This is a Dante Lavelli. So another one where just the blue, the greens, like when you look at this card, the eye appeal is stunning. It really is. Little bit off center, left to right, top to bottom. But when you look at it, the colors jump off the cardboard at you so much, you don't even really notice the centering. Like, I've had these cards for a long time in my collection, and I always focus on, the faces, the emotion of the players. Like, that's what I really love about these vintage cards. And I haven't noticed the centering until I started putting it together for this video. So, yeah, it's off center, but overall, eye appeal-wise, this thing's absolutely gorgeous. Here we go. Now we're jumping into the 1951 Bowman era. This is a Lou Creekmore, and I'm going to tell you right now, another one just absolutely, some of these cards, the colors are so vivid. Look at the rosy red cheeks that he's got, the green of the field, the yellow of the sky. Like, this is an absolute beautiful 7. I wish it was a little more centered. I would probably crack and resub it. It's got a little bit of fraying right up around here, but I'm telling you right now, this is just the stunner of a card. It's absolutely beautiful. As long as you don't mind it being OC a little bit, like just the jump of the color makes it worth it to me. I think it's great to have in my collection. This is one of the ones I was referring to earlier, okay? When I talk about I buy a card, not a grade. This Norm Van Brocklin is pretty much the greatest 5 I've ever seen. If you put this next to the other 5 that I had up earlier, they don't even look like they're in the same category. This 5 right here, there's got to be something that I'm just not seeing with it, but this 5 here, it's got that red mark that I pointed out. Like, you can actually see, let me get my fat fingers out of the way. You can see the difference in the corners. Like this 5 right here, this Norm Van Brocklin, this thing has some really, really sharp corners to it. There's a little bit of touching right up here. Centering's pretty solid. The blues are beautiful. I mean, it's just it's a great card. It really is. You know, if I ever upgraded, it would take a heck of a 6 or a heck of a 7 to get me to get rid of this card, because it's really, really pretty. So I'm very happy with this Norm Van Brocklin PSA 5. I have no intention on upgrading it right now or anytime soon. Like I said, it would take a stunner of a card to get me to upgrade it. Here's another one right here, 1951, Emlyn Tunnel. So this gentleman right here, this is another one. This one looks more like a 4. It looks infinitely better than the other 4. I don't know. I've had these cards for a long time, so this was a long time ago when PSA graded these. So there could be that the grades have just gotten softer, or back then, like the parameters for a 4 and a 5 were just really, really wide versus now when they're a little bit narrower. But I mean, the centering's off on this one. This corner's dinged. It's not terrible, but if you put this 4 next to some of the 5s, like this one looks just as good, if not better, than some of the 5s that I have. There's a little bit of surface issue. You can see a little bit of the coloring coming up here. So maybe that's what knocked it down a peg. But this is something that, you know, I'm not in love with this card. I think this is definitely one I'll look to upgrade in the near future. You know, great player, great card. If I ever upgrade these cards, I'll just include them in that charity basket that I'm talking about, where we're going to put together a charity basket for a silent auction, and we're going to donate to our local children's cancer charity, and I'll auction it off and hopefully raise a ton of money. So here's a 7 right here, 1951. We haven't seen a really high-grade 1951 yet. So this is Ernie Stautner. Nice card right here. You'll see the centering's better than in the other ones. You'll see the colors are really, really pretty. I love the pastels that these old 1950s cards have. Like, the colors are great. You know, it fades from green to blue. The sky's really pretty. I love the expressions on his face. I know I already said that, but it's just, it's a throwback for me to a different era. And these guys genuinely played the game for the love of it. You know, they weren't making a ton of money as players. So they had to love it. Not only were they getting the snot kicked out of them, but they also weren't getting paid a lot of money for it. So this is just another pretty card from that era. Great player. Love to have this 7. Not one I'm looking to upgrade anytime soon. Here's another 7 from that 1951 set. Okay, here we go. Arnie Weinmeister. So this guy right here, good centering on this card, good corners on this card. There's a little bit of discoloration in the white down here and a little bit of discoloration in the white down here, which I think is what kept it back. But, you know, this is what I would call a solid 7. The last card I'd call a solid 7 too. I think there's a big jump between a 7 and an 8, especially in vintage. The card has to be darn near perfect in my mind if you're going to start throwing around 8s in the 1950s. And neither of these cards are darn near perfect. So I think the 7 here is aptly graded, just like in the last one. The colors are beautiful. The centering's great. I'm very happy with this card. Not something I'll look to upgrade, but those are the ones that I'm really looking for. Again, great color, great centering. Here's another one. This is a 6. Sure presents a whole heck of a lot better to me. Probably the nicest vintage 6 that I have. Yale Larry. The centering's really good on this card. You see those borders. The margins look great all the way around. The corners look really sharp. There's not a whole lot to dislike about this card. I think the very worst thing that I see, and I'll try and see if I can get the camera to pick it up, is up here. You see just a little bit of discoloration up in that corner. You see that black? That's not supposed to be there. But these corners aren't bad. Certainly could make an argument for a 7. I've seen 7s that look worse, and I've also seen 6s that look better. I don't have the stones to crack and resub, but out of this whole lot, if I had to crack and resub something, this would be the one that I sent through. Next one, we're dropping back down in grade a little bit. This is a 1952 Ollie Matson. This is a PSA 5. Certainly better than the 4s that I've seen before earlier in this video, but this one definitely looks like a 5 to me. I think this is properly graded. We got some corner issues here. See if I can't show that to the camera. Yeah, we got some pretty clear corner issues there. This corner doesn't look great either. Plus the centering on it. You know, this is a well aptly graded 5. Totally happy with it. Not looking to upgrade it right now. Not my favorite card in my collection. So the colors in it aren't super bold. I don't like the background of this card in particular. I just feel like it's one color top to bottom. I feel like the green of his uniform, the gold of his helmet kind of run in there. And it just doesn't pop to me. So it's one that I have in my collection, but it certainly isn't top of mind. I won't be upgrading it anytime soon. It's just not a card that excites me too much. Now here you go. I love these 1952 Bowman Large cards. I only have one of the Bowman Large, but I have a lot of work to do in the 1952 Bowman space. And I know the larges tend to be more expensive than the smalls, so if I get the opportunity, I'm going to go for them because I love the extra cardboard. I love the extra color that comes with it. This guy right here, Wayne Milner, like this is an amazing, amazing card. I think it's well graded for a 6. There's a mark right up here, right up in the blue that you can see. I think the camera picks that up pretty well, actually. There's a mark up there. Don't know if it's a pen. Don't know if it's just a printing defect. But you can see the corners up here, right? We got a pretty close image. Corners aren't too bad. Centering's off left to right a little bit off top to bottom. But, you know, this is a well-graded 6. I think it's a pretty card. If I ever upgraded it, it would take a serious color pop for me to make that transition. But that 6 looks really, really good. 1952 Bowman, again, this is the small variety. So when you look at these two cards, you can see the difference in the size, okay? So it's pretty considerable. And again, I buy cards, not slabs. So I love the fact that the large, they just have more cardboard. You get more color, you get more player. It just naturally looks better in my mind. So I've got a couple 52 smalls that I'm going to show you here. And then we will actually be at the very end of our early 50s PSA graded NFL Hall of Fame rookie card bonanza. So here's Jack Christensen right here. Again, 1952 Bowman Small, PSA 6. This card, I think, what I love, and it's really hard to show up. Well, the camera shows it pretty good. What I really love about it is the way his head, it's the, I don't know, color blast effect, if you want to use a modern term where it's not modern at all, but kind of just the way they have the light and the yellow shimmering off his head and his body, you know, showing some action, showing some movement, the best way they could back in the early 50s. I really, really like that about this card. This card has beautiful coloring. Centering's a little bit off. Colors look on point for a PSA, or the corners look on point for a PSA 6. Don't have any intention on upgrading this anytime soon. I love it. I think it's a sharp card. And again, one of the reasons I'm so in love with it is I just love the way it blasts out like that from him. So I think that's a super, super cool effect for back in the day. And then they say save the best for last, but I certainly did not. So this card, the thing that I really don't like about it is, man, that centering is ugly. This is the type of card where back in the day, back in my younger collecting days, I bought this for a slab. I would not buy this nowadays simply because the centering is so far off. To me, it does lose some eye appeal. I'll tell you, the colors are super bright. The blue is very blue. The green is very green. He looks incredibly happy. Like the image is right on point, but you can see, look at the further away you get, the worse it gets. That centering is just not something that I want. Obviously, you don't always get to go back in time. You never get to go back in time, so there's nothing I can do about it. But at some point, I will upgrade this card, and maybe I swap it for another 6 with better centering. But I won't. This won't be the final Gino Marchetti that I keep in my set because, again, it's just not quite what I'm looking for. So that's the start to the 1950s collection, everybody.